Good morning. How am I liking Affirm? I was looking at this one yesterday. I don't hate it per se. It's done a really nice job um, holding up since earnings. Obviously, not on day one, but this is kind of like that SoFi where, SoFi, where you kind of get that earnings gap up. Day two, it pulls back, caps down, and then, it just starts to build and then just starts to build from there. Um, kind of got that affirm price action similar, and then it eventually ends up going. But I don't really see a tight spot for me to get involved unless I would buy it over, yesterday's highs or even Friday's highs. Like, I don't hate it. I just don't love it. This is kind of one of those like Shopify in a way where it's like you can see that it's in an uptrend, but wherever you end up buying it, you almost have to just use your ascending moving average to trail your position. Like, get in, use your ascending moving average, and then let it work. It's kind of how I'm looking at it, to be honest with you. COMM, this thing's already made a pretty big move. Let's take a peek. Nah, I don't love this price action. Like, look at this. Yes, it's tight, but no, it's not really going anywhere. This thing stopped going somewhere once they sold a part of their business. I forget what it was that they sold. I thought this thing was really nice right in here, way back when. Even out of this big base, like this big base here kind of reminded me of Grab. Yeah, look at this thing go too. Very nice. Yeah, Netflix, not bad. And Netflix, if it's going to go, this one was on last night's watch list video. If this one's going to go, it could very well go with Spotify. Also on that last night's watch list video. We'll see what happens with them. Yeah, CLS high type flag. This is one of those that I'm monitoring to see if we get a failed breakout. Right. The thing with a CLS is this has been on the move for many quarters now. Right. This thing has been on the move for a long time. And, at some point, one of these spaces ends up failing. I don't know which one and could very well keep going to 300 plus. Right. But I am monitoring this thing. The longer we go sideways, the better. Let the 50 catch up. But, at the same time, too, this is held up very well. And if the market's just going to continue higher, I would suspect that CLS can go. At least it offers a really low risk tight spot. So that's the important part. If you're wrong for a little. If you're right, it could just keep on going. But, is this a late stage base? I don't know. I sure as hell wish I held on to my $100 shares from 512. It'd be like $1.5 million winner. So be feeling pretty good about that one. But unfortunately, I am not in this sucker. Would I consider entering NTRS? No, I wouldn't. It's just too slow for me, right? I mean, if I were trading with like, $250 million, then yeah, then I would go for this one. All right, maybe I wouldn't even need that much to go for this one. But the reality is it's too slow. I mean, pretty obvious VCP pattern, right? Where it is tightening up. It's just getting tighter and tighter and tighter. It does have a really nice flat base. It probably does end up going and breaking up, but just too slow. How am I feeling about where SYM is at? Well, I bought this thing at 51 bucks and I've trimmed. So, yeah, I saw that they got a downgrade this morning. Not really thinking about that, honestly. Still looks good to me. You're still in Rambit CRDO A-Lab up about 20% on about 1/3 to 1/5 of a full position with 20% trailing stop. Yeah, that's fine. Let it work. I mean, how do you know you can't end up being up way more? You just have to be patient with it. Put it on a ascending moving average and let it work. Yeah, PARR and DK. These are all in that same refiners group, if I'm not mistaken. Oil and gas refiners. Let me just triple check, but I'm sure you've already looked at this. So if you know off the top of your head, I just don't know exactly what group PARR is in, but I'm pretty sure it is. Yeah, oil and gas refining. So yeah, it looks fine. I think the sector's been acting a whole lot better, also with a name like Dino, a name like MPC, a name like VLO. The sector's acting a whole lot better, and it's so underowned, right? Like, people don't own crude oil. So because crude oil's under the 200 simple moving average, it's far from being in an uptrend, and a lot of the stocks within the group are working well. I'm not sure. It's below the 200 simple moving average on UNH, so not one that I'm really interested in owning. Dollar volume is the only thing I care about. Dollar volume and average daily range. I don't care about how many actual shares are being exchanged hands. Like, how many shares are traded on the day is completely irrelevant, right? Like, it doesn't matter for a name like Netflix or Melly, which trade a whole lot less shares than Open Door, right? Dollar volume is the only thing that matters. ANET's fine, but again, it's like one of those like CLS, right? Is this a late stage base? I mean, this thing's been going for many quarters. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, these things have basically been on the move for 12 quarters. It's a while. I mean, does this thing just chop around and need a whole new, bigger multi-month base? Maybe. These things have really been in an uptrend for a really long time. So I don't know, similar to CLS. I mean, I currently don't love the setup. So there's that. I don't like the technicals behind it, but the name itself is fine. It's also data center related, but for me, just kind of leave it alone for now. Yeah, this isn't ugly. It's a little thin, right? It only trades 30 million bucks a day, so it's not extended, but there's nothing I could really do with that. It's very thin, EVLV. Nothing to be done. This one kind of reminds me of that. I don't love the setup at the moment. I'd like to see another higher low. It is very tight. I mean, at any moment, this thing could kind of just take out prior day high and have a nice update, but I don't know. It's fine. It's fine, and in a way where you just buy it over a prior day high, set your stop on like the ascending 20 or 50 day, and then just leave it alone. Let it work. I don't know. Microchip and ALGM, you gotta ask me a question, brother. I don't know what you need by those other than they're semiconductor stocks and they're lagging. How I understand the move in bit F. What about it? All it did was get above it got right tight underneath the 200 simple moving average. It got big explosive volume above it. It was playing a little bit of catch up. Why the big move compared to the peers? It's not a big move compared to the peers. In fact, it's even smaller than a move in IRIN or a move in APLD or a move in HUT or a move in Cypher. The thing here is it's just playing catch up. I mean, look at this thing. This thing closed at 14 bucks. Now it's at 15 plus. So it's just playing catch up is all it was doing. Yeah, Netflix and Spotify are a little slow, but Netflix has like a leveraged a leveraged ETF version of it. So you could always play that if you like Netflix. No, this is far too thin. This doesn't even trade a CPSH. I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt because I don't think I've ever seen you ask a question, but dude, there's nobody on planet Earth trading this thing. It trades less than $1 million a day. You guys got to ask some questions behind these. You guys just can't throw ticker symbols at me. I need some questions. Otherwise, you guys are just randomly throwing ticker symbols my way, and I can't look at all of them unless there's a legitimate question behind it. Would I say SATS isn't a bear flag? Nope. I mean, maybe, but I mean, it's also above the ascending 10. I mean, above the ascending 20, above the ascending 50. The 200's in an uptrend. It just came out of a huge base. I mean, I don't hate it. I don't necessarily love the long setup, but I wouldn't necessarily short it either. It's like nothing really here. It's just something you leave alone. Too late to go after CoreWeave. I thought 125 was the spot yesterday. If you were going to go after it, so like right in here, and then right when it got over the red to green spot. Yeah, it's a little late. I wouldn't chase up CoreWeave. You know, this thing's got to clean up a little bit. It's just kind of, you know, channeling higher. We'll see if this thing will just tighten up. Yeah, snow doesn't look too bad. Hood's one of the leaders, and MPWR is a semiconductor. I'm not sure about the questions, guys. You guys are just throwing ticker symbols my way. Doesn't really do too much for me to be able to help you other than me know exactly what they look like already. I didn't open anything yesterday, and I should have taken GEV at $630. And I also could have, I thought this thing looked really nice over prior day high. You know, call it, you know, 628 to 630 right in here. But, you know, I just didn't buy it. And then I thought Nvidia looked actually pretty good over prior day high, $178. I thought that looked pretty good. So first I had this little, before I put this little flat base on it last night, I thought this thing had a fairly decent, almost like a little nice little downtrend line going into yesterday. Yeah, looked good. You know, we'll see if this thing wants to go. If this thing can give us an inside day today, then maybe it's also viable tomorrow. I gotta say though, I think that the whole, kind of the whole round tripping of money that Nvidia is doing right now with these companies, it'll eventually come back to bite them in the ass. This whole thing where Nvidia gives money to OpenAI so that OpenAI can meet its obligations for the contract that they have with Oracle, that they need, you know, like cloud computing. And then it's like a $300 billion contract that OpenAI has with Oracle that they couldn't pay for. And then they get that money from OpenAI, which comes from NVIDIA. And then Oracle goes out and buys chips from NVIDIA to build the cloud computing for OpenAI. And then so the money leaves OpenAI or NVIDIA's books and then ultimately comes back to NVIDIA. Some people will call that a symbiotic relationship. I call that round tripping money. But I guess it works. It's just like, how are any of these companies going to recognize revenue when it really just ends up leaving NVIDIA's books and coming back to NVIDIA's books? It's just like, I don't know. I don't know enough about it to know. All I know is that it just, you ever smelled dog shit and you just knew that it was dog shit? Like you just knew it just by looking at it, and then you get like a little waft of it and you're like, oh yeah, that's dog shit for sure. It's kind of what this smells like. So it's like, you know, you could walk on the sidewalk next to it, but be careful. You don't want to get bumped into it. It just doesn't, you know, Guys, when you include a ticker symbol, please ask a question with it, please. I already know what some of these names look like, but I don't know exactly what you want me to tell you about your stock other than, oh, Rocket Lab looks amazing. Oh, it looks like shit. Oh, it, you know. I mean, Rocket Lab's got a nice base. This is one that I actually would like to buy. So we'll see. As long as it continues to hold the 50 simple moving average, there's nothing wrong with it at all. So, at all. Rocket Lab looks fine. What's my sell criteria? It's a little bit different, right, Victor? It is really a stock by stock basis. And oftentimes it has to do with how my stock is acting versus the group and how my stock is acting versus the market, right? There was a moment in time there where like Tesla was showing tons of relative strength versus the market, and Tesla's coming out of a really big base. You know, I've now had Tesla for, a handful of days now. I mean, I started to buy this thing in here, if I'm not mistaken, on 9.5, and I have not sold any yet. So, but then there are times where something like Oklo, right? I started to sell this thing on day 1, 2, 3. So I started to sell some in here, right? So it just really depends. And like Oklo was like a third of my position. Oftentimes, if the market's acting well and my stock is acting poor, I might sell a little bit more. If the market's acting poor, but my stock is acting well, I'm a little bit more patient with my stock because I know I'm in something with nice relative strength. So that's like a really kind of an important way that I like to think about it. How's my stock acting versus my group and the market? Yeah, that's really important. And then really it's typically like a third up to a half. And then I really don't like to sell anymore until I get extensions from the 50-day. But then every now and again, you get yourself into a name like Tesla and you just want to do nothing, right? Like I just want to let it work on a weekly chart, right? I don't want to let it work on an hourly chart. I just want to be patient with it for weeks on end if I can be. And that's how you catch a big winner. No, ALMU too thin. It looks like shit, honestly. Wayfair is fine. Could use a new base, a longer base. It's not very extended, so that's not the problem. But it's made such a big move up off those lows, 250% basically, from the April lows. It just needs a new base, a bigger, longer, new consolidation. How does your FinViz scan for fast movers work? Watch the video. I made it very easy to understand. You're looking for percent gain. You could look at it over the day, over a quarter. You want to know the biggest movers over, a month and a quarter. But I suggest you watch the video. I made it super, super easy to understand. SEI, another one. Yeah, showing tons of strength. Look at this thing. New, what is this, 52-week highs? 5-year highs? Very nice. And they are in the, I think you just said it, are they in the oil and gas industry? Yeah, oil and gas equipment services. Very nice. Yeah, this is exactly what, you want to see. And crude oil is super, super underowned. My thoughts on Plug, it's a laggard to BE. I don't know that it ever moves, and the float's gigantic. GEV I could have bought yesterday, but I didn't. Marvell's also a laggard in the semiconductor space. Like, where would Marvell rank amongst semiconductors that you had to own? Right? I don't think it ranks near the bottom. Right? Like, there are much better semis. NVIDIA, AVGO, TSM, ASML, LRCX, KLAC, A-Lab, CRDO. I mean, there's just so many more that I would put well ahead of the price action of Marvell. Should be no reason Marvell's even on your radar. Yeah, I thought VRT was nice yesterday. I thought VST was nice yesterday. Yeah, this thing was not too bad. And VST, the V's yesterday. Obviously, this one's dealing with some bit of a gap down. Not sure what's going on there, but EPS is important. It's not the end all be all. And part of the reason that I'll say that is because let me sit down. Part of the reason that I'll say that is because as long as it's in a hot theme, then it's not really that important as long as it's in a super hot theme. But when I buy a stock, if it has really good earnings and sales, and in particular, if it has accelerating earnings and sales, then it gives me that conviction to hold, right? I still have to manage risk in real time. I still have to respect my stop loss. Like I don't just say to myself, oh, this company's got great, earnings and sales. I'm just going to hold it. No. You don't want to just hold it. You still have to respect your risk. But when a company has great earnings and sales, or they have a new product in the pipeline, or you are, for instance, the same way I am with Tesla, I know that they've got robo-taxis. I know that they've got humanoid robots in the pipeline, right? So I'm really patient with it. When you buy particular breakouts like A-Lab and you go, they've got triple digits, growth on their revenue. All of a sudden, that is like that thing that'll make you super patient once you get yourself into, that position. Yeah, Oscar's been coming back, and it is going to be one of those that moves, with United Healthcare. It's like one of these healthcare stocks. Yeah, this doesn't look bad at all. This could almost be a higher low setup. See how every time this thing comes down to the 20, and now you've just undercut the 20, you reclaim the 20, now you're retesting it and getting very tight on it. Like if this were to take out prior day high, so effectively $19, could be pretty good. How could you explain why everyone is long in the COT report? It is not a strong buy. No, it's everybody's not actually long on in terms of COT. Everybody's actually short, and the market keeps grinding higher. People are super, super short the market right now, and hence the reason we keep grinding higher. People aren't very long. It's just the opposite. It's going to be different for me versus somebody else. It all depends on the size of your portfolio, right? Like I can't trade a stock that only trades 10 million bucks a day, right? I couldn't put enough money to work there because I'd be moving the stock. I'd have to take such a small position. So to not move the stock, and then if it doubled, it still wouldn't move the needle in the portfolio. So you have to trade things that are liquid enough for your portfolio. The more money you trade with, the less of a universe of stocks you can actually trade. Guys, for those of you who are mentioning Frog, OUST, Hood, I need you guys to ask something with it. Otherwise, I'm just going to be looking at a bunch of random charts that I've already looked at. And I need to know if you guys have a question on them. The ascending moving averages are just simple. Just simple moving averages on the daily. On a smaller time frame, I use EMAs. Because it puts more weighting on the most recent bars. SMAs puts an equal weighting on all the bars. I don't often use margin. If I can get onto margin, I will. And the market would just have to provide me with more setups, or I'd have to do a better job getting involved when the market's getting into an uptrend. When is this frothy market ending? That's a great question. And I don't know that it's entirely frothy because you just had like a fresh potential breakout in Nvidia. They're a real company. Nvidia looks like, or Apple looks like it's trying to go to an all-time high. They're a real company. Tesla just broke out of a big base. They're a real company. The need for energy is a real demand, and GEV looks like it might be trying to go higher. VST just hit a new 52-week high. So it's not totally frothy. I would just say, when you've got a bunch of small caps or mid caps, kind of making these like profitless companies making absurd moves. Yeah, that is a little frothy. But if there are other places of the market that can pick up, that would be nice. But obviously, you've got some big moves going on in the gold and silver space. You've got some really quiet moves going on in the oil space. You've got some, names in the Dow that are going to make new highs like a Caterpillar. And, it's like frothy depends where you look, right? Like when I'm looking at even my Oklo, it's a little frothy, right? This basically no revenue company going up like this, like they've cured cancer. Yeah, that's a little frothy for sure. Coin, I've talked about coin plenty. It needs to get back over the 50 simple moving average, but please include a question, guys. If you guys post a ticker symbol, it makes my life a little bit easier. Otherwise, I'm just guessing what you guys are, referring to. Yeah, it could be that Baba's setting up again. And I've done such a shit job of getting myself into this one. I was looking at this in this base, and I didn't buy it on this Friday, unfortunately. It needs a longer consolidation. It's too extended from the 50 for me to even consider it at the moment. Yeah, the strength is awesome. Needs a new base. Do I think we still have upside in the market? Yeah. I think the pain trade is still higher. Not enough people are invested in the market, and everybody's getting negative on the market because we've been going up. So, and I don't, unless there's like a bunch of fail. And here's the thing, I said it yesterday in a tweet, like we can go down 3, 4, 5%, and there's still nothing wrong with the market. It could still just then consolidate, turn right back up and keep going. But like everybody's negative the market because it's gone up so much. But yet a bunch of people are actually short the market. So, you're supposed to be long a bull market, not short a bull market, which I think is a lot of people's problem. Everybody's waiting for the pullback that really isn't coming. Look, and I don't know when the bull market's going to end, but until you start to get leaders breaking down and then staying down, then I'd be more negative. Or you see breakouts failing. Like let's say, you've got a nice little setup in CLS, you go to get the breakout and then it just fails, right? When I start to see more of that, when I think Nvidia's breaking out, sees a new all-time closing high and then fails today, right? If it failed, that would start to, kind of raise my antenna a little bit more, right? That would kind of give me a little bit more pause. But for now, we don't physically see that, so there's no reason for me to be negative, right? I'm not going to assume something's going to happen. I have to see it happening, and then I can react to that thing that's happening. I'm not here to use my brain and figure out the thing that's coming next. That's not the actual job. Yeah, it could be that the oil and gas refiners are emerging, right? Like the gold miners isn't some new theme. If they were to consolidate for a while, then we can rebuy them. But yeah, oil and gas seems to be a new theme. Maybe home builders can bounce off the 50. Maybe biotechs, solars could be, a continued strength theme, even though they've been pretty strong all year. So yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. Right now, the current themes are like quantum it just broke out of a big base. So that theme could go a little longer than people think. The energy theme can go on for longer than people think. Yeah, MRUS doesn't look that bad either. What group is this sucker in? Biotech. Yeah, I would be careful with these biotechs, man. If we don't get a correction and keep pushing through Santa rally, or do you just think Santa skips down? Honestly, I don't know. That's actually a great question, but I don't know. Your guess, Max, is as good as mine. And our job isn't here to figure that out. Your job is to look for stocks that are in top 40 groups with good technical setups that you understand, get more of your money involved if you're not invested, manage risk from your entry, and, buy a stock when it's pushing a pivot in a good market. That's it. Like your job is just to ignore the rest. Who cares about Santa? Who cares about the current rally? Who cares about how short and long people are? At the end of the day, it's about your money, and it's not about trying to figure these kind of things out. Not saying your thinking is wrong. I try to do something similar, but at the end of the day, it doesn't put money in your portfolio. So that's the most important part, like money in your portfolio. What's the reason I took CCL instead of RCL? Yeah, great question. I took CCL because it had a high volume close setup, and I was paying attention to it. Right. So I saw this gap up on earnings, gave a nice little inside day, and I had a closing price of 25.70. So I came in and I bought it on 626 when it broke that 2570 level, 2577. And my stop was low of day. A very simple, easy setup. And then, now I'm just holding it. And as long as it stays above the 50, I'm all good. I don't know that BMNR is setting up, but I wouldn't buy it. Like if I'm going to buy, I'm not buying any treasury companies. I'd rather buy a leveraged underlying. So instead of buying BMNR, I would buy ETHU. My Tesla stop loss strategy for now, I don't want to sell it. So, I'm just, as long as we're staying above the 5-day, good. And then in a few days, as soon as this 10-day kind of catches up to this little gap up days low, about $400, I'll be using the 10. And then hopefully in another week, I'll be using the 20. And I'm not looking to trim any. I have no stop loss strategy on it at all. My focus is really more so on this weekly chart that just recently broke out. Right, guys, when we were in here a few weeks ago, I was literally saying, or when we were breaking out, if you don't have irresponsible size on this position, you're doing it all wrong, because you don't normally get mega caps with this kind of absolutely gorgeous setup that has overcome every piece of bad news that was thrown its way. So, recognizing that, and then I don't just say that because I want to trim it after day 2. I got a lot of I told you so's on this day here for not selling any. I told you should have trimmed some. And, I don't want to keep all the receipts, but we are higher from that today. So everybody who, when they saw this close here, hit me with the I told you so. And, it's like at the end of the day, you have to kind of follow your own plan. And my plan with Tesla is to hold it as absolutely long as humanly possible, so long as I feel comfortable and it's in an uptrend. And every single moving average is in an uptrend. It needs to trade over $1 million a day to meet my qualification. I don't care about shares traded. If a stock is $1 and it trades 1 million shares, it trades $1 million a day. It would be far too little. If a stock is $100 and it trades 1 million shares, it trades $100 million. That's something I could possibly trade, right? So the amount of shares traded a day makes no difference. Like, you got to get that out of your head. The amount of volume that's traded in the day is irrelevant. No. What's going on? Why are people spamming this ALMU name? This doesn't look that great yet. And trades $7 million a day. Guys, there's nobody trading this fucking thing. Please. Stop with this ALMU. It's like the 5th time I've seen this. I've already talked about it. It's far too thin. It sucks. Sorry, Dimitri. I don't mean to call you out, bro, but $7 million for you guys who have been showing up for months on end. And I appreciate and love you guys. Stop asking me about thin names. You guys do not need them in your life. Trust me. You don't need them in your life. You don't want them in your life. It just takes one asshole to come and ruin your entire position. There's no institutions playing in this pool. It trades $7.5 million a day. I've taken positions bigger than that in my career. I know plenty of guys who take positions bigger than that in their career. You don't want stuff like this. Trust me. Just hear me out. $7.5 million. There's nobody there. Nobody home. Don't focus on stocks. No partial position, no quarter position, no tenth of a position. A partial position doesn't move the needle on your portfolio. Focus on, if you've only got room in your portfolio for 10 stocks, where does AMLU rank on the list of stocks to own? I don't know how many publicly traded stocks there are, but this one ranks in the bottom half. You got coin on the breakout. The thing with coin for me is it needed to get above the 50 simple moving average and then establish itself above, like trade above for a few days. The problem is it really didn't trade above for a few days. It instantly came right back and gapped underneath. That's the problem with coin. It needs to, I don't mind what it's doing. It looks like it's trying to build higher lows just underneath the 50-day. If it can get above the 50-day and stay above the 50-day, then I'm interested. But I'll tell you this, stock market's hitting an all-time high yesterday. The Russell's right there near an all-time high. The QQQ is, the S&P and the Qs are basically at an all-time high. Gold, which is a commodity, which is supposed to be like protection against the dollar going down, is at an all-time high. And Bitcoin and Ethereum are getting their asses kicked over the weekend and not really bouncing. There's kind of an issue there in the crypto space. I'm just pointing out an observation. I'm not saying that they can't go higher in time, but for right now, crypto doesn't act well. If Bitcoin doesn't act well, I would suspect that the Coinbases and your MSTRs of the world don't do all that great. QS, yeah, this move's kind of crazy. And every time this thing perks up, you get a big pickup in volume. I think what QS needs is a little bit of tightening back against like the 10 and 20 day, but tons of strength there. I thought this thing was good 3 days ago, right over this 1060 pivot. You're in at 209. Man, I'm jealous of that one. I wanted to actually buy this thing. 208 was where I was watching it, right here. But instead, I bought Oklo and I bought CCJ. JJ, no problem, brother. Thank you for being here, man. NAMS. It's just thin, but yes, big base. If this had more volume, this is some pretty big base. And it's like a recent IPO. Yeah. I don't really know what sector it's in. If it traded more volume, I would like it. Like if this thing traded like 80, 90, or $100 million, that'd be pretty good. It's just so thin, right? This 26 million. Now, maybe for you, you could trade it, right? If you're trading with like, 50K, you can buy this. But I don't know. Find yourself a tight day. Yeah, Apple was a good chart to swing trade a few days ago, right through here, right through the horizontal pit. You want to catch moves like this. You don't want to chase moves like this. So when you say Apple's a good chart to swing trade, yes, if you were in on Friday. Oh, yeah, the Model Y. Oh, yeah. I like them all. I think that full self-driving technology is absolutely nuts. Me and my fiance were in it the other day and we were like just kind of mind blown. Like you're almost like giggling when you're like sitting in the seat. You like cannot believe that this car is just driving better than you, without you touching the gas pedal or steering wheel. And it's just like, turning. You can see on the screen like all the pedestrians and other cars. It's just kind of mind blowing. No, I don't. I talked about this, Ina. I have no plans at all to sell Tesla. None. Zero. For now, we just got to let it work. SATS. Yeah, it's just extended. I would wait. I would wait until this 50 catches up a little bit. It's like 10 times. It's actually like 11 times its average true range from the 50. It's just too extended. Yeah, I think those were fine, Strata. I think Nvidia feels a little bit like a missed one. I thought 178 was a pretty good spot. VST was fine as well. It's in the energy sector. I don't know why it's gapping down today, but GEV I thought was a little bit better at about 628 to 630. I own AAOI. I think QUBT already made a move with the quantum stock, so you kind of have to leave it alone. LMND's got a big base. RCAT looks pretty interesting with the drone stocks. Affirm, something's a little bit weird with that one, if I'm being honest with you. Not exactly sure what I don't love about it. It feels kind of like a Shopify where you just got to buy it and then just use an ascending moving average with it. Reddit, I think, needs a little bit of a bigger base. Rocket Lab, I think, has got a nice big base and looks potentially ready to go higher. I'm not familiar with these other ones. BK, SY. Needs to tighten a little bit here on the right-hand side and build a series of higher lows. AEVA looks like absolute shit. This thing basically gave back this entire move from May to June, gave it all back. I think this looks absolutely disgusting. Maybe it looks better in about 2 weeks. ATAI, far too thin, $20 million a day, but look better right in here. But far too thin. I think that might have answered all of them. If you want to go all in, yeah, I can't even answer that question because I would never recommend you go all in. Yeah, AMD doesn't look too bad. Needs to get back up above the 50 simple moving average. And I've been saying this for a few days now. Needs to clear September 10th's high. If it can clear September 10th's high, then it looks pretty good. Yeah, Uber's better bought on weakness against an ascending moving average. This thing is like, it keeps building this volatility contraction pattern, but it's really annoying. But it just keeps going higher. If Nvidia were to give us an inside day today and then over that 185 tomorrow in a good market, yeah, it could be. It's a nice base. MSOS possible trend line break. Yeah, maybe. You know the difference between MSOS and Oklo? So one's an ETF and one's a stock, but two, one has a real theme behind it, right? Like weed is not an interesting theme anymore, okay? Almost all the states are legal. Nobody gives a shit about it anymore. Maybe it gets legalized federally. Maybe it doesn't. But the real theme is with powering these data centers, right? There's a real institutional demand behind that. So yes, some things might look a little bit similar technically, but the way you differentiate the two in your mind is which one has a real theme behind it and real institutional power, no pun intended, and which one is just this kind of a forgotten about theme that nobody really cares about, right? When we were in high school, weed was, oh man, it's illegal. Oh my God, you got some weed? Like that was way cooler back in the day. But now it's just like, oh, okay, cool. These publicly traded companies that make no money, in a theme where it might get legalized federally. I mean, it just doesn't have that zing anymore. You know what I mean? It's just not it. Will Dan. I like WLDN. Yeah, I like Will Dan. This one looks a little more like Oklo actually too. Yeah, I don't hate it. It's maybe a touch thin with only trading 50 million bucks a day, but I think it looks pretty good. We're nice and tight against the 50. You've built a series of higher lows. You've got a nice little spot to potentially get involved over the 107.70s. I'm not trying to constantly or consciously limit new exposure. I mean, I could have bought GEV and both Nvidia yesterday. I was looking right at them as they were breaking out. But yeah, I mean, maybe consciously, yeah, I am. I'm trying to do less right now, right? I'm trying to do less. That's just kind of my thinking. The less I do here, I think the better. Until I see some cleaner bases or the market pulls back just a touch. I don't need the market to break down. I just need the market to set up some cleaner setups. But you do have cleaner setups, right? I thought Nvidia was clean yesterday. GEV was clean yesterday. This Will Dan doesn't look too bad. High type flag on OUST. I'm hopeful that OUST can go sideways for a few more days. Yeah, I think if it just went sideways a few more days, I mean, it also could just break out from here. This 36 bucks. Jordan, don't worry about it, brother. I appreciate you for that anyway. Any thoughts on copper? Let me take a look at FCX, probably the one leading copper name. Very tight here. Wow. Hadn't looked at this thing in a few days. You'll have to look at the copper futures, HG. God, this thing still looks rough. I don't know. Yeah, I like Zscaler. They were on last night's watch list video. Yeah, not bad. If this will Zscaler will work if CrowdStrike's going higher. Yeah, I saw AMAT, and you know what, Scotland? It's not just AMAT. It was also ASML. Some of these things are really coming back to life. And then you've got a name like LRCX as well, just flying. Yep. Yeah, there are some names that are just flying out here. Yeah, I think you got to just play the price action. If something's tight and you can limit risk, I think you just got to forget about everything else, right? It's all the idea is like even when I do my best at limiting risk and taking trades that I think are in tight setups, good groups, I'm still wrong 65% of the time. And I still do well. So you got to just like kind of take that out of your mind, right? It doesn't really matter. Thoughts on Amazon? It's lagging in a big way. Is it better to find setups in small caps provided they have enough volume? I think, mid and large caps are better. Companies that definitely make money. How do I manage my watch list and focus list throughout the trading week? I make my focus list for the next morning, the night before, and I manage my watch list by just putting all the stocks that I think are interesting into like a universe list and then just going through those every single day. I think for some people it's a little harder psychologically. I like taking small profits into strength. It then, just kind of removes the burden of even having to look at the stock. It's like you've done your job. You caught a nice 3 to 5 day move. You de-risked the entire trade. Now you can comfortably hold on the ascending moving average. Yeah, APLD is already way too extended. Like, where's the setup? You can't buy this thing. Where's the setup? Almost hit $27 this morning. Like, where exactly do you buy this thing? You want to buy it down here against the 50 or a break of a prior day high as it's bouncing off the 50 and then catch this kind of move, right? Don't you want to be the one that catches a 80% move, or you want to be the one that's buying an 80% move higher? I don't look at charts below the 50 simple moving average, and I know TTD is still below the 50 simple moving average. There's no reason for you to even try to get into that name. Guys, I know I left a ton of questions unanswered. You guys were absolutely coming at it rapid fire, and I appreciate you guys all for being here. I got to get my butt moving. Time for me to start live stream as well, and I will see you guys all bright and early tomorrow morning. Sorry I didn't get to all the questions. I tried to hit them all, as many as I could, but I just couldn't. I will see you guys. For those of you guys in the room, I will see you guys in about 2 minutes. And for the rest of you, I will see you guys in 23 hours. Trade them well today. Be safe out there.